There are big games, then there is the game. A rematch of the 2019 National Championship game as number 10 Stanford is in Chapel Hill on Dorrance Field to take on the number 2 and undefeated North Carolina Tar Heels. And hello, everybody. Alongside Kyle Straub, I'm Dean Linke, and it doesn't get any better than this one right here.
It really doesn't get any better. A top 10 matchup early in the season is always going to be great. But when you think about the history between these two teams, they've met in a couple of national championships. They've split those championships as well, Dean.
They met in 2019. It went to penalty kicks. Let's take a look.
What a game this was. I mean, 0-0 at the end of regulation, and it's largely in part because of the two keepers. We talk about Claudia Dickey so much, and you're going to see her today. Absolutely phenomenal. They end up getting to PKs, Dean, and it came down to the wire. Both keeper came up huge. And oh, by the way, they're the same two keepers that we're going to have out on the pitch here for today's matchup.
Katie Meyer was incredible.
Finally, with the game winner, it's Kiki Pickett to get the national championship for Stanford.
And for more on today's game, let's go to the third member of our team. Let's go down to Maryland.
A combined 11 athletes who competed in that 2019 College Cup Championship will take the field here tonight for North Carolina and Stanford. But for Anson Dorrance and Paul Ratcliffe, that number might as well be 0. Ratcliffe is going to start 6 national champions, but he's still looking to see what the identity of the 2021 Cardinal is. And Dorrance is coaching what he calls the most young and depleted roster that he's ever had in his storied career, looking to see today in this top 10 matchup if this young group can gain important experience.
Great setup for this one. Two fantastic teams. It's Stanford, it's North Carolina. Coming up next on ACC Network Extra. "24 national championships combined between these two teams, North Carolina and Stanford." Let's get you set with the starting lineup first for Paul Ratcliffe and the Stanford Cardinal. Just one change in the back. But Naomi Girma, one of the best defenders, already been called up to the full national team. She is the real deal on that back line for Stanford, and that is the starting lineup for the Cardinal. Meanwhile, for Anson Dorrance, he's going to make some changes. The two Emilys are going to be up top, both freshmen, Murphy and Colton, and then Allie Gambone, just through pure effort, has earned the start as one of the 210s alongside Meza. That's the starting lineup for the legend of legends, Anson Dorrance. I call him the greatest college coach any sport ever, and the 21 national championships is proof of that. 7-time National Coach of the Year, probably could have won it 30 times. 12-time ACC Coach of the Year, Anson Dorrance. And Paul Ratcliffe, who was a member of the 1990 national champion UCLA team. He's gone on to win 3 national titles as the head coach at Stanford, now in his 19th season with an .822 winning percentage. He is also the real deal. 2 of the best coaches, 2 of the best programs, and here we go, Stanford and North Carolina. Kyle, I have been looking forward to this one more than you will ever know.
As soon as the schedule came out, you know, there's always those games that you circle on it. This one was circled, highlighted, some stars put next to it. We're finally here, and I am really excited to see this game, and I'm excited to see the Emilys up front. I have heard a lot about these two for North Carolina.
Thank you.
Both teams again kneeling as we continue the fight against racism and we push for equality and love. And if you love women's soccer, you're going to love this one. Stanford and North Carolina. Stanford out there in their gray uniforms with the red numbers, and of course the North Carolina Tar Heels electing to go with their home whites, which is super smart on what is going to be a hot day here Sunday afternoon at Dorrance Field. A wonderful crowd as UNC talking about trying to chase down BYU as the most attendance for college women's soccer this year. So Katie Meyer is taking her earrings out. So of course Katie Meyer, the one that threw away the key after beating North Carolina in that 2019 national championship game, dealing with the earrings. So for starters, it'll be a different goalkeeper for Paul Ratcliffe. You feel like you see everything, and then you see this situation right here, right?
Well, you see some equipment checks across different sports and just forgot to take out an earring or two.
So that's Ryan Campbell, the sophomore from Laguna Beach, California, that is forced in. And we'll see what she can do. Of course, Katie Meyer came up so huge in that 2019 national championship game.
Yeah, and part of the reason that this one is such a hyped game is because of some of the emotion that she showed during that shootout, and she used it to fuel herself and keep herself going. If you're on the Carolina side, you probably didn't like it very much. If you're on the Stanford side, it really got you going. They eventually win that title, and that's why for the fans and everybody watching, this is a really big-time matchup because it's a rematch.
Left side, here's Stanford. Inside, and Claudia Dickey has that near post guarded. You will not beat Dickey on the near post. She knew it, and she'll let that go. But the first great opportunity of the game comes from Stanford.
I think you're going to see a lot of really solid opportunities on each side offensively. It's just going to be the communication on the back lines, who can stay in formation and who can help out their keeper the most.
If you've been following the Tar Heels throughout her career, Claudia Dickey, you know the story. Two-sport superstar, actually came to North Carolina with intentions to play basketball as well, but the U.S. youth national teams kept calling, so she elected to focus only on soccer. She does have eligibility for next year, but Anson Dorrance has already said, you're going pro, you will start at the next level next year, and I think he's probably right.
She actually came to Chapel Hill on a basketball scholarship. That blows my mind that that's how her career started off, but you gotta love that Anson is that type of coach that he's looking out for the players' best interest as well. And you can go back to look at last year. He did the same thing with a couple of girls over in England and said, no, you're not coming back to play for us. You have a professional career that you're gonna go get started right now.
Hard tackle coming in, it'll go out of bounds. Throw in back for Stanford.
And you know, the bigger picture on that, Dean, that I love is that the women's game has grown enough that they can do that, that it's big enough that before you're ready to graduate, if you're good enough, you can go ahead and go pursue that professional career.
Yeah, the NWSL is showing that it is stable and it's going to be around a long time. Two more teams coming in Angel City and San Diego as well. And Anson Dorrance, he watches all those NWSL games, and what he does is every single team is loaded with Tar Heels. He pulls for the team that has more Tar Heels. That's how he's decided to do it.
He's watching every one of those games because there's a former player of his on every one of those teams.
Absolutely. A lot of times multiple players, including three that should still be on this team when you think about Ashley, Fox, and Pinto, let alone the three that are over across the pond. And then there's 4 injured starters as well. So that's 10 players that would be 10 starters. Okay, you see the 3 stars on the back of the jersey. Those are for the 3 national championships. Can you imagine North Carolina trying to work in their 21 stars all over their uniform?
You got to take the Argyle piping down the middle and replace it with stars because it just would be full of them.
Both teams, though, have a lot to be proud of. Of course, Stanford winning it in 17 and 19. In 19, as we showed you right off the top, beating this Tar Heel team in penalties. Stanford pushing it forward again. Here's Macy Bell. Macy Bell, Kyle, I think you and I had that first call of her first ever game here, and we were blown away, and we remain blown away. The gazelle-like stride, the ability to take on more than one player at a time, and she runs the show back there. Macy Bell, and now finally the earrings are off, and Katie Meyer, who had all of that emotion. It's kind of interesting that she's kind of wearing a Carolina blue goalkeeper outfit as well.
Yeah, I don't know that this is how it worked for Stanford, but a lot of times keepers are the ones who get to pick what color jersey they want for a season. It wouldn't surprise me at all if she went with that color for the reason of, hey, we got a national championship against them.
Patterson will bring it back to Dickey. What a start for North Carolina. You heard Marilyn Payne mention depleted, and you think about the injuries on this team. Allie Sentner, the #1 recruit on the team, took out in the preseason. She's out. Emerson Elgin, one of the best left backs you're ever going to see. Julia Dorsey, who also stars for the lacrosse team, and Talia Della Peruta. All 4 of them still unavailable. We do think we'll see Dorsey, Elgin, and Della Peruta return.
Those are some big losses for Anson Dorrance and his team to have not out on the field. But look at their ranking. The depth that they have is one of the reasons that they've been so successful.
Allie Gambone rarely starts, but she has been so incredible. Came in hungry in the preseason.
And here's the thing, Dean. We talk about the #1 recruit who is unfortunately out for the year, Macy Bell, who when she came in was a top recruit. My favorite players that perform from North Carolina and develop are the players like Gambone, who maybe wasn't a starter right away, but puts in that work and is just tenacious and eventually gets into the starting 11.
And that was actually Colton who made the effort, and part of the reason I'll get confused with those two is they both had 51 on the beat test. They both moved the entire time. Colton 19, Gambone number 16, and Gambone earning that start. And I know you've appreciated Gambone ever since she arrived. Rarely starts, but always brings everything.
It's one of those players that off the bench for her first couple of years, she was the energy player for Anson Dorrance, and now into her junior season, gonna get a little bit more time.
Moxley looking for Gambone. Gambone got a piece of it, but they say she interfered right there with Katie Meyer, so they'll give it back to Stanford.
First opportunity for North Carolina, and this is a great ball played in. Maybe get it a little bit further away from the goal so that Gambone can play that ball and Myers doesn't have the option of coming out.
The Tar Heels beat Northwestern 2-0 on Thursday right here at Dorrance Field behind goals from Rachel Dorwart and Rachel Jones. Both players will see in this first half. Dorwart scored off a free kick in the 17th minute. Jones found an open net after a pass from Emily Murphy in the 86th. Dickey way outside. Dickey's only mistake this year was against Illinois in the 4th minute. Of course, 1 minute later, they tied the Illini. North Carolina did in Champaign. And she came back with a career-high save performance against the Buckeyes. 9 saves in that one. Brilliant saves, as we'll show you at halftime of this one. Here's Murphy. She'll lose it. A rare loss of the ball from Murphy, who looks to be one of the premier freshmen in the country. Meza, who had the game winner against Arkansas in overtime right here at Dorrance Field, and that'll go out of bounds. A couple rare mistakes from North Carolina in possession. There's Paul Ratcliffe. He was on that 1990 national championship team coached by Ziggy Schmidt, and you start to look at the names on that team. Brad Friedel, arguably one of the best goalkeepers ever, played in the Premier League for almost 20 years. Kobe Jones, Joe Max Moore, Chris Henderson. The list is endless of superstars that he played with and under Ziggy Schmidt.
You know, the thing about him when we talked with him was, you're a Bruin, but he said, you know, this is my second family. Stanford has welcomed me in so quickly, and he's been there a long time, but feels like it's still just, you know, his first season there, but he is now truly a Cardinal, and couldn't be happier when you talk to him about his situation, being the head coach for Stanford. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, as great as Dorrance Field is, and he was excited to be here, the farm is a special place, home of the Stanford Cardinal. We'll also break down the number of Stanford players that were on the U.S. Olympic team. A little bit of switch there, as more players from Stanford on that team than Tar Heels. You think about the history of the U.S. team, really Anson Dorrance got it all started by winning that first World Championship in 1991 with a ton of great Tar Heels.
And the 21 titles for North Carolina is because for a long time, multiple decades, they were the premier organization, and there was nobody else that really challenged North Carolina. I feel like Stanford, Dean, was the one who cracked the door first and started to get some parity at the college level for women's soccer, and you're starting to see that now pay off because they've been around. They have a number of players that are on the national team as well as in the NWSL.
Colton trying to fight through. A different level back line that North Carolina will face. Moxley, the transfer from UNCW, had a wonderful strike in that win over Northwestern that went off the crossbar. It would have been one of the most spectacular goals of the year. And what an addition Moxley is. You've got the #2 recruiting class in the nation. Then you add a transfer from UNCW who earns the start from day one. That's big time.
With the new transfer rule, it's going to be really interesting to see how especially some old school coaches like Anson Dorrance take advantage of it, or do they just stay with the recruiting? And I think you immediately get an answer with him bringing Moxley in.
course, Moxley played for Damon Nahas, named the associate head coach, and he's got a handful of players that played for him with the North Carolina FC youth system and North Carolina Courage system. Damon and Sean Nahas, two of the best coaches in the country for youth girls soccer. And Claudia Dickey will pick it up. Murphy was offside to start. Emily Murphy by way of England. Of course, over the years, there have been some great players come from England.
Alessia Russo, the biggest name that comes to mind, former ACC Player of the Year.
Lucy Bronze isn't too bad. Arguably one of the best players in the country.
Nice ball.
Yeah, it looked like maybe it was offside. This is dangerous, and it's going to leak in and score. And Stanford has scored first. The Cardinal on the board with a 1-0 lead. Andrea Kitty Hata, number 20's made it 1-0 Stanford.
It's a great touch from Kitty Hata, and she's able to battle here. Look at this ball from just inside midfield. Great run on the near side, and then just goes 5-hole. Dickey played it about as well as you can as a keeper. Just the third goal given up by North Carolina this season, Dean.
Yeah, Andrea Kitty Hata, got 3 goals already. She's just a freshman, part of the U.S. U20 national team. She's got strong family lineage that we'll get to in this one, as Kitty Hata has given Stanford. I thought she was offside, Kyle Straub, to be fair, but the flag stays down, so clearly she timed it right, and it's 1-0 Stanford.
It was really close, and on a long ball like that, the timing, you kind of can get a little bit away from, get away with a little bit more than on those closer, tight passes, and I think that's what happened there. That's why she got in behind the Carolina defense.
Kitty Hata, what a great start to her collegiate career. 3 goals and 3 assists already in just 4+ games. As I mentioned, her family filled with superstars. She's got a brother, Garrett, who plays squash at Cal's and a top-ranked junior player in the country, a grandfather that won the Japanese Olympic swim team in 1994, and a great-grandfather who was a professional soccer player for Ajax in the Netherlands back in the 1920s.
Some lineage right there.
How about that? Kitty Hata, 3 goals and 3 assists already, just a freshman. As both these teams, if you're good enough as a freshman when you arrive, they do not hesitate to put you out there as a starter.
And you kind of can't. I mean, you're in a position, if you're North Carolina or if you're Stanford, you're out there competing for the top recruits, and with the amount of development that they get before college now, a lot of those top recruits absolutely have to be on the pitch right away.
Stanford flying down the right side, flying down the left side now. Denied by Meza. And that is one of the things Anson Dorrance loves about Meza, her defensive ability. If you don't play defense, no matter what position you are, you won't play for UNC. You won't even be part of the substitution switches. That's just a matter of fact. You don't play D, you don't play.
You got to be a two-way player. It's that simple.
Stanford on Thursday fell to Robbie Church and the Duke Blue Devils. Duke took a lead, and then Stanford came back and tied it, and then Cosme with a wonder goal off a free kick to win it.
And that was a wonderful matchup between two really good teams, and you were one play away from potentially having 2 undefeated here in front of us. But that's what happens when you get these top teams. It comes down to just one play most of the time.
Prior to that loss, Stanford had started the season 3-0 for the 9th time in the last 15 years under Paul Ratcliffe. And of course, the North Carolina Tar Heels 5-0. They've made that routine.
They put up some big numbers, the Cardinal, in those first 3 games. 15 goals scored, did not allow a single one.
crowd, a lot of the fans standing in the shade, a lot of the fans soaking up the sun here. And Stanford with an early lead. Of course, Illinois had an early lead on North Carolina, but North Carolina came back and won that game 5-1.
Now, somebody asked me before this one how I thought it was going to go, and I said this is probably going to be a 2-1, 3-2 final. Even though you've got two really good defenses, you've got two elite offenses, though.
Yeah, that's so well said. Great attacking players, and they like to play attacking soccer. Both these teams are really good about limited yellow cards and red cards, even limited fouls. Meza dancing the way she can dance. Meza's footwork, incredible, going around Cardinal players like they're cones. But Stanford gets it right back. Patterson, and Patterson will knock it out of bounds. Good tackle from Patterson.
Look at the footwork from Meza down the far sideline. Made three different players miss and then able to tiptoe around the sideline there and keep it in bounds. On point when we start talking about elite offenses and you get a little run like that.
Yeah, she is a special player, can dance with the ball. As good as anybody with the ball at her feet, compared to Tobin Heath at times as well as Meza, her ability with the ball at her feet, and a tremendous defensive player. There's Colton. The two Emilys, Colton and Murphy. Now Murphy on it. Murphy's going to bring it all the way back to Patterson. It's Patterson, Bell, and Allen, the three in the back. Here's Wrigley, another one of these superstar freshmen who has earned the start at the 6 after just one game. They get it out to Moxley. Moxley trying to cross it, goes all the way through. There's more, the walk-on. What a story she is. Told by Anson Dorrance directly to her face as well as her parents. She will never play at North Carolina. Went home during the COVID break. One-on-one, trained with her brother every day, came back a different player, and now has started every game of the season.
You know, I don't think for a moment that Anson was not being honest when he told her that. But as a coach, you're also kind of wondering, how is a player going to respond to this? Are they just going to give up, go somewhere else, and do it at a different school? Or are they going to put in the work?
Gambone over to Colton, and deflected. It'll be a corner kick. Corner kick, North Carolina.
Good work there from the Tar Heels. Nice ball from Gambone.
You got no one up top, son.
Keep an eye on Macy Bell. She'll come up from the back line now. Big target on these set pieces for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, Macy Bell, we have been throwing out the number of 5 goals. She's got 1 already. She could easily have 3, 4, or even 5 already. So the notion of her getting 5 is very possible. That corner kick sent right back where it came from, picked up by Moxley. Now Meza. Meza, a little bit of miscommunication with that. Let's go down to the 3rd member of our team. So pleased to have Marilyn Payne with us.
Dean, Kyle, you're both talking about the importance of Stanford coming out here to face both Duke and North Carolina. The disparity in the numbers for the Cardinal compared to its first 3 matches of the season, though, are something that Paul Ratcliffe was very comfortable seeing. He said, we come out here to play these top 5 teams. They're number 10 now, but he believes they can be a top 5 program again this season. They don't do that without matching the intensity of the Blue Devils and today the Tar Heels.
That's an excellent point. I mean, it is so rare. Last year, because of COVID, Stanford actually did not make the NCAA tournament, the first time in Paul Ratcliffe's 19 years there. So when the rankings came out, they had Stanford like near 23 in our first game. And I actually was on the air, Kyle, saying that's going to change in 1 week. And 1 week later, they're in the top 10.
Yeah, I think sometimes you read a little bit too much into the results from a pandemic year, something that nobody has ever dealt with before, and some teams dealt with it better than others. Stanford obviously didn't have the season that they're used to, but that doesn't mean that things will be different this year.
Murphy. Gambone was showing. Instead, they go to Moore. Bad bounce for her, but she tries to run it down or go out of bounds.
Couldn't settle that one down. Tried to chest it down so she could get a shot off. And it looked like it just deflected off her and kept on going.
So much history here. Of course, now in the 2nd season, Dorrance Field completely redone. Used to be called Fetzer Field, now appropriately named Dorrance Field after the most successful college coach of all time. Part of that history, the longtime SID Dave Losey, who told me before the game he's going to write a story about 50 years of UNC playing women's sports. And one of the stories is going to be about the serendipitous start for Anson Dorrance at UNC as he started with the men. That's going to come out next week, according to Dave Losey, the Hall of Fame PR man, who, by the way, is now being replaced by another Hall of Fame PR man in Steve Kirshner.
Yeah, SID for the men's basketball team for a long time and filling in the shoes. I mean, listen, when you have a legend, you can only fill the shoes with another legend, right? I'd be really interested to read that story from Losey.
Oh, I can't wait.
You know, a lot of people don't realize how much SIDs are involved with programs, and he was there from the very beginning with Anson.
Stanford going the other way, running right downhill. Macy Bell always there. Those big, long legs. Able to knock it up. Stanford staying with it. Gambone will knock it back.
A couple of bad giveaways there from North Carolina in their own zone, and you see Macy Bell giving the palms down. Let's slow down. Let's calm down here.
Of course, North Carolina famous for a shift change. The first sub will probably be Jones. Jones has been on a minutes restriction all year, and that included when she started the first 4 games. Did not start the last game, still on a minutes restriction. And now Rachel Jones and Rachel Dorwart. Dorwart has scored goals in the last 3 games, so it wasn't easy to tell her that she's not going to start, but talk about a big-time goal scorer. Dorwart will come in. Here's Colton. Colton back over to Murphy. Murphy's got Moxley on the right. Colton not afraid to take it from distance. It's deflected and picked up there by Katie Meyer.
So if you're going to give me that space, I'm going to let one rip and see what happens.
Murphy on that last shot. Gives it up to Colton. And Murphy earning the foul.
Seen a couple of tough tackles here in the last few minutes. Things have gotten a little more physical. I think that goal scored by Stanford ups the intensity a little bit.
Not surprised that was Murphy with that long distance shot. She will shoot from anywhere, and she always seems to get it on frame. Sent into the box. Bell is there. Punched away by Meyer. Cleared long by Stanford. Claudia Dickey always way outside her 18. Does she just look like she's got it all under control all of the time, or what?
Absolutely. You know, you could kind of see that as a true freshman. I remember in a quarterfinal matchup, she was taken off the bench. Didn't even start at this point. Was taken off the bench and went out and buried a PK to help send them to a college cup.
Just saw Murphy give the signal that she wants to be taken out, and I'm not sure if Anson Dorrance or Damon Nahas saw that. Anson's now going to get up.
She actually had made a motion over to the bench after she let that shot go.
So they're going to get a sub in for Murphy. Murphy was not expected to even play the last game and ended up starting because she took a pretty good knock against the Buckeyes and perhaps aggravated whatever injury that was, and calling now for a sub. And Murphy with the turnover. You see the frustration there. She is hobbling around.
And I think that the turnover was because she doesn't want to take the ball herself, so quick pass, but it wasn't a very good one. Carolina going to reset.
It's going to be Izzy Cox coming in for Murphy at the next opportunity. So neither one of the Rachels at the moment. This is Colton. Colton over to Moxley. Now back to Colton, and Colton offside.
Yeah, keep it up.
Andrea Kitty-Hata, the freshman, with her 3rd goal of the season with 3 assists, is the only score so far. Great angle pass. Thought maybe Kitty Hata was a step offside. Referee said no. He had a better look than me, and it's 1-0 Stanford on top. Murphy's still out there as they've not been able to make the sub yet for Cox, and Murphy definitely laboring. Good work by Moore. Now Gambone will clean it up. Here's Meza. Meza turns around, and there's a whole lot of gray jerseys in front of her, so she'll go back to Patterson. Tremendous crowd here at Dorrance Field. Patterson over to Gambone.
Nice touch.
Gambone back over to Murphy. Murphy feeling a little bit of pressure. Murphy now to Wrigley. Looking for Moxley. Kept in bounds by Stanford. Stanford making a run out of the back line. The only change on that back line is the freshman Pagador did not start, as Avani Brandt got the start back there with Gurma, Wesley, and Rubenstein for Paul Ratcliffe in that back line for the Cardinal. This game is flying along. There's only 19 minutes remaining here.
There's been a lot of action, even though it's a 1-0 game. You have had a lot of action. It hasn't really been in the midfield too much. And I feel like, Dean, when you have high-level talent and high-level teams, games seem to fly by because you're just in awe the whole time.
You know, I've been with you a long time, and you've said a lot of smart things, and I'm going to put that right up there at the top right there, Kyle. That was waxing poetic, and I mean that sincerely, as we've got Cox coming in for Murphy. And I am in awe. I mean, you have to be in awe of these two programs.
You do, especially seeing, like, the true freshmen. You know, you're out here, and we know that there's veterans, and we've seen them before, but freshmen out here that just blend into the game, and they don't stand out as being slow or being behind the game at all. I think a big credit to that is the development that is happening. And it's something I said earlier with the women's national soccer team and the ability now for college girls to go to the NWS into the youth level as well.
Let's go back down to Marilyn Payne.
This is a freshman class that Anson Dorrance says under any other circumstances he would be doing cartwheels up and down the field because of how talented they are. He compares it to the Mia Hamm freshman class, but because of those veteran players that were drafted by the NWSL, he says that they're in a much more difficult position despite their talent, and even though they're great, they're just not as experienced in this college game as he would like for them to be, but certainly the ceiling high for this class.
Well, and the biggest thing about this freshman class is their #1 recruit, Setnor's out for the season, and Elgin, arguably one of the best left backs I've ever seen as a freshman, also has been out the last several games. So they are missing 2 of those key players on that freshman class. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Pleasure to have you along for the ride, and they're going to stop the clock here as the Stanford player is hobbling along.
Each team now with a player banged up.
Kennedy Wesley. Now Wesley got hurt in that game against Duke and came out, and then came back on, and then eventually came out again. So similar situation, as it looks like you're going to see Kitty Hata maybe even move over to the back line after scoring that goal, showing her talents. And of course, we have seen the evolving status of the game where you're having attacking players play left back and right back. That's standard fare now, and a foul against North Carolina. And wow, there may be a yellow card here against Bell.
That's a little much for me. I think that was just an aggressive play. It was obviously a foul, but I don't think it warrants a yellow card here. Take another look. I think that's a play there, Dean, where yes, she's late, but the momentum of the attacker makes it look much worse. Full head of steam, so you tumble and get onto the ground. I definitely don't think it was a yellow card there, though.
Good look at Macy Bell. Soak it in with Macy Bell. Future player for the U.S. national team. You can mark that one down. There's probably quite a few of them on this field here.
Yeah, I would bet my money, my game check will go to, you'll see multiple of these players eventually on the U.S. national team.
Indeed. Claudia Dickey could be another one of those in a country that is loaded with outstanding goalkeepers. She's right up there, and Macy Bell, perhaps a future center back for Vlatko Andonovski and the U.S. women's national team. Over 16 minutes remaining here in this first half. Cox, who looked so good against Washington off the bench with 1 goal and 1 assist. In fact, for me, I thought she was the MVP for North Carolina in that opening win over the Huskies, but then missed the trip because of COVID protocols to Illinois and Ohio State, so working her way back in to the lineup for Anson Dorrance. Did play in that 2-0 win over Northwestern. So Kitty Hata now has moved back to left back, the goal scorer, trying to get it back. It'll go out of bounds, will be a throw in Stanford. Dickey, the ACC Defender of the Week, going against junior Maya Doms, the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. We'll have more on that at halftime as well. Stay with us.
See all those white jerseys standing at the scorer's table. The line change, hockey-style line change for Anson Dorrance, ready to come in.
And that'll also be a formation change as they'll switch from a 3-5-2 to a 4-3-3 when these changes come in.
Essentially what he does is have 2 teams, and he figures out what the best formation for each team is.
And he's also decided that Jones with the 3 front is a little better, so that's part of the reason why she is on that second shift. Abby Allen from Austin, Texas, tackle, but it'll go off of Allen. It'll be a throw in for Stanford.
That's a fantastic defensive play right there from Abby Allen. Was actually behind the attacker, but look at her make up ground, take a great angle, and get to the ball, not the player.
Meanwhile, Stanford very quickly with the throw in, sending a pretty good cross, but now some space. The transition, which is usually so good for North Carolina, has been difficult to get going, as there's always been 5 or 6 gray jerseys behind the ball, even on transition.
And I think that's probably the thing that stands out most to me when I watch North Carolina games, is how quickly they can counterattack. Stanford has done a really good job in this first half of taking that away.
Rubenstein will get it out wide here to Grubel. Back across again, trying to make it 2-0, and Dickey will let that one roll out of bounds.
Not often that you see a ball misplayed by Macy Bell, but that's what happened. Watch this one sneak between the legs of the Tar Heel defender. Good hustle on the backside to try and get to it in time. Just couldn't really get a good strike on it. Here come all those subs.
So Claudia Dickey, a little bit of conversation as they'll now go to 4 in the back.
You know, Dean, you mentioned Rachel Jones. Comes off the bench for North Carolina on the preseason Herman Mack Trophy watch list. You're coming off the bench, but you're recognized as one of potentially the best players in the country. It just kind of tells you the mentality you have to play on a team that is coached by Anson Dorrance. It doesn't matter if you're in the starting 11 or you come off the bench. You got to be ready when your number is called.
So now in front of Dickey, left to right, it'll be Tolentino, Allen, Bell, and Patterson. Then it'll be Tori Hansen, Maggie Pierce, Annika Huta will be the 10 with Cox, Jones, and Dorwart up top.
Keep an eye on Dorwart. She has really played well. Leads the team with 3 goals on the season.
Yeah, last season, Brianna Pinto was the only Tar Heel to score in 3 or more consecutive games. She actually had a streak of 5 games. Dorwart's got a team-leading 3 goals and 3 in a row for Rachel Dorwart, who you got to remember her freshman campaign had 5. She is a goal scorer.
I mentioned Brianna Pinto, talk about players who will eventually be on the U.S. national team. There's one that keep an eye on. You'll see her there eventually.
Well, and Emily Fox is about as big a lock as you're going to find, even more than I think Bell and Pinto. Fox will be on that team as well.
She's already made an appearance on the national team, right? She was the only collegiate player to do so recently.
She has, and Bell and Pinto have been in the camp. They've been there as well. Speaking of players that have been into camp, Naomi Girma, the superstar who has represented the USA at every level from youth all the way up to the full national team.
They love when they can have a player like that that develops and grows through all of the ranks. She started all the way back, I think it was U15s, and is now right on the cusp.
Brianna Pinto has a similar story like that, playing on multiple youth teams, as that'll go out of bounds. It'll be a throw in for Stanford. Paige Rubenstein, the junior. Three-time Surf Cup champ, as all of these players, big-time players at the youth level, of course. Paige has a sister, Brooke, playing on the Cal Poly women's soccer team. 11 minutes and change remaining. Over the head of Cox. And there is Girma. Intercepted by Tolentino. Tolentino last fall started the majority of the games. Didn't play quite as much in the spring. Now comes in on that shift change at left back. Quick restart for Stanford. Quickly started there by Julia Leontini.
That free kick as well as the throw in a few minutes back. Stanford not wasting any time. They don't want to let North Carolina get the defense set up.
Hansen. Hansen, loved by her teammates, named one of the 4 captains. Along with Macy Bell, Allie Gambone, and Rachel Jones. Offside Stanford, Amy Sayre from Sydney, Australia. Stanford only went 14 deep against Duke. Of course, North Carolina has been playing more than 20 players a game. Against Illinois, I think it was closer to 30 in that 5-1 win.
That'll be something to keep an eye on in the second half, especially when you get to the last 15, 20 minutes or so. Hot day here in Chapel Hill. Do the legs start to get tired early season? You're not quite in mid-season shape yet.
Andrea Kitahara, the goal scorer in this one, the freshman from Hillsborough, California, with 3 goals and 3 assists to start her freshman campaign. Macy Bell comes forward to win it.
Surprised there wasn't a whistle there. Went to go play the ball and actually caught a foot to the midsection.
Yeah, she was not happy about it either. They switch it over to Patterson. There's Jones.
You notice when North Carolina plays that ball back, Stanford doesn't really pursue that much. They're not going to get out of position just because North Carolina tries to bait them into it.
We're at Dorrance Field in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. ACC Network Extra. Great to be alongside my good friend Kyle Straub, along with Marilyn Payne, doing great work on the sideline. I'm Dean Linke. Great to be with each and every one of you. Wishing you all a happy Labor Day weekend. An extra day off tomorrow. Looking forward to that, Mr. Straub.
There is no day off in our life, Dean.
That is so true. I do have another game to call tomorrow night. Right side, Stanford sending it in. There's Bell again. I don't know if there's a player out there that can make up ground in recovery better than Macy Bell.
You talked about it before. She's got those long legs, so she's got really long strides. She doesn't have to take as many in order to make up as much ground.
The goal scorer now playing at left back for Stanford. Kitahara will go out of bounds and back to Patterson in North Carolina in front of a wonderful crowd here at Dorrance Field. The sun is baking down. Nobody's complaining because they get to see 2 of the perennial powers now of women's soccer. You got to throw Florida State in there. Mark Krikorian, the job he's done with the #1 Seminoles, you know that's going to be another big time tilt in the ACC, and you could easily see Florida State and these 2 teams once again in the College Cup. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely. You can even throw the opponent that Stanford just had this past week in Duke in there. And
oh, yeah.
I don't think anybody would be surprised if those 4 made up the College Cup.
That is right on point. What a job Robbie Church has done at Duke. I feel like we do have to tip our hat to Randy Waldron, because Notre Dame, probably even before Stanford, was a team that was knocking on the door. They just couldn't beat North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then they finally did win a national championship. I remember Notre Dame with Kerry Riccaro playing Crystal Dunn on this field, and that was also, quote, the game.
Yeah, I mean, when North Carolina dedicated this field to Anson Dorrance, Notre Dame was on the docket for that one. That wasn't by mistake.
Torrey Hansen, tower of power and holding mid off the bench.
Carolina substitution, number 18, Bella Sember.
So Bella Sember is going to come in for Cox. Remember, Cox came in for the injured Murphy, and the way Murphy signaled for it, knowing that she also had that injury against the Buckeyes, that is going to be a big loss if Murphy cannot go, because Murphy has the ability to create stuff all on her own. Against Northwestern, she just ran right through the Northwestern defender to give a sitter to Rachel Jones.
Especially because, we talked about it already, the number of players that are out for North Carolina, not just for a few games, but some out for the entire season. Anson just can't really afford to lose a player of her caliber.
So we understand that shoes are off for Emily Murphy, and that is usually a sign that she may be done. So somebody else is going to need to step up and fill those big shoes. Pardon the pun. It'll be a throw-in. Patterson looking for Dorwart. Dorwart with a good pass. Shot not there, and will not challenge Katie Meyer.
Really the first good look that North Carolina got offensively since this second unit has come onto the field.
So Murphy headed to the locker room for treatment. We'll keep you posted on her status. Bell gives it back over to Allen.
If you're North Carolina, the hope is that with her going back to the locker room early, maybe that's because they feel like they can get something done to get her back out on the field for the second half.
Excellent point. That was Dorwart who checked it back. Tolentino is going to go out of bounds and come back to Stanford. A tremendous pace with two teams that are tremendous.
Yes. That's all you need to do. Tremendous teams, tremendous pace, tremendous game so far.
Pierce gives it away to Stanford. Ripped right back, though, by North Carolina. Tremendous defensive work here, as now Huta will give it over to Jones. Jones can also slice and dice. Jones looking to get it back. Read perfectly there by Stanford, though. You can tell Stanford is ready for those one-touch passes. Patterson, so strong and showing the throw in Tarheels under 3 minutes remaining here in the first half.
Well, you know North Carolina's game plan. Stanford has done their due diligence and they're ready for it. Those little one-touch passes that typically free up somebody in the box haven't been there for the Tar Heels.
Flag stayed down as they were trying to get it over the top to Jones. Stanford was able to head it away before it could reach Jones. Jones and Dorwart both staying onside. Dorwart trying to fight for it. Dorwart staying with it. Dorwart's got a hustle, and no, it'll cross the end line. And now, yeah. The Tar Heels lead this series 9-3-3. However, Stanford has won the last 3 meetings, 2014, 18, and in that 19 game. The teams are 1-1-1 in Chapel Hill at Fetzer Field / Dorrance Field. The Cardinal beat UNC 1-0 in overtime back in 2014 in the most recent match in Chapel Hill. So it's been 7 years since Stanford has played right here. what was formerly called Fetzer Field, now appropriately named Dorrance Field.
You know, it's funny when you talk to Anson about when this stadium was built, he'll point up to some of the buildings that overlook the field, and he'll say, you know, when I was in school, I was up there, and I literally left some blood on that field before I became the head coach.
Well, yeah, he played here and started the men's program, and then eventually was doing both, and then switched over to just the women's team. Assisted for a lot of those years by Bill Palladino. Now it's Damon Nahas, Chris Ducar, and Heather O'Reilly. The flag is up.
One minute remaining in the first half.
Just 1 minute remaining. Stay with us at halftime. We'll flash back to last year's ACC Tournament Championship game, an instant classic between Florida State and North Carolina. We'll take a look at how both these teams represented the U.S. national team at the Olympics. And then we'll also flash back to Claudia Dickey's performance against the Buckeyes that helped earn her the ACC Defensive Player of the Week. That plus highlights and so much more here in Chapel Hill with just 25 seconds remaining in the first half. And Stanford, Andrea Kitahara with the only goal of the game. Just saw Murphy getting her ankle taped.
6.
Jones, final seconds, and it will be Kitahara with the only goal. Stanford 1, North Carolina 0.
45 minutes in, we expected a fantastic matchup. I think we've gotten exactly that so far. Great chances for both sides. So far, though, Stanford, the only ones who have broken through.
Tremendous crowd to watch these two outstanding teams, Claudia Dickey's Tar Heels and Paul Radcliffe's Stanford Cardinal, who leads North Carolina by a score of 1-0. Two of the best ever, Paul Radcliffe Stanford team and Anson Dorrance North Carolina team. Stay with us at halftime here with Stanford leading the Tar Heels by a score of 1-0 right here on ACC Network Extra. Bright sunny day in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Dorrance Field. A rematch of the 2019 National Championship game between Stanford and North Carolina, and the Cardinal lead the Tar Heels by a score of 1-0 at the half. Always great to be with Kyle Straub. I'm Dean Linke. And North Carolina, they really are depleted. A lot of injuries as they trail here after 45.
They are, and I think you could see that a little bit in the final third, Dean. They didn't quite have the connection that you're used to with them. See what kind of adjustments they make. I think Anson may take a little more risk, try and play some balls over top. But for Stanford, they really pushed that back line for North Carolina. Had an offsides or two, but it ended up working out in their favor.
We talked a lot about North Carolina freshmen, but it was actually a Stanford freshman that got the only goal of the game as we take a look here at the first half highlights. Kyle, go to work.
Andrea Kitahara, I talked about it, pushing that back line. Was she offsides? It was close. The flag didn't go up, so it's no. Good one touch. Dickey played it well, but I like the awareness there. You don't have to absolutely bury this one. Play the keeper. Just puts it off the outside of her foot and trickles it in. And so far, Dean, that's all that's been needed.
That is the only goal. The freshman with 3 goals and 3 assists. And we'll take a look at the first half stats.
North Carolina has had possession a little bit more than Stanford, but besides that, everything about dead even. I do think one thing we need to keep an eye on is that yellow card that Macy Bell got. She can't be as aggressive as maybe she normally would be. You don't want to get sent off in the second half.
Excellent point. For more excellent points, let's go down to the third member of our team, Marilyn Payne.
The first thing that I checked with Anson Dorrance about was the status of Emily Murphy. She did have her left ankle being taped back behind the bench in the tunnel, but Anson says, I will play her. I plan to play her in the second half. She just shy of 30 minutes of action in the first so far. Now down 1-0, Anson Dorrance felt that his midfield wore down Stanford better over the course of the match, but Stanford, he believes, is in the position they are because they deserve to be more aggressive, he felt, than his Tar Heels, the Cardinal, was. He said, we need to take more shots inside 6. The shots on goal, 1-1, and the shots for the first half, 4-4, but he seemed surprised by those numbers because he doesn't like the quality of shots and the looks that his team has gotten so far in the first half. We'll have to see how the conversation at the break goes.
All right, great stuff, Marilyn Payne, hearing from both coaches. Thousands affected by Hurricane Ida urgently need support. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond to and help people recover from this disaster. Two of the best teams ever. They represent the most titles all time. There's a bit of a disparity from the top to the remaining. North Carolina with 21, but Stanford feeling good about those 3, including one in 2019.
A bit is a bit of an understatement there. 21 national titles is just unfathomable, but that's what Anson Dorrance, the GOAT, has done in his time at North Carolina. Really dominated the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. One of those championships in 09 actually came against Stanford, but they got revenge in 19, picking up their 3rd, so that they're sitting there right behind North Carolina in 2nd, but not really that close in number, though.
Stanford won it in 2017 as well. North Carolina has been in 30 college cups. Stanford's been pretty good, too.
Yeah, the thing about that 19 game is before it for the national championship, they compared the last decades between the two programs, and they were identical. The number of college cup appearances, number of national championships. Obviously, Stanford wins that one and gets a little bit of a lead there in the last decade, but you got to expect them, like we talked about, to be there in the end of the season every single year.
Standing tall. We said that Marilyn Payne would talk to both coaches. She just caught up with Paul Ratcliffe. Let's hear what Marilyn has to say.
Thank you so much. I just talked with Paul Ratcliffe, and he explained that he believes entirely North Carolina is going to be more aggressive in this second half, and that's going to be difficult for his Cardinal team to counteract. He also felt they were worn down a little bit by the end of the first. Said, I expect them to get inside the box better, and I expect them to press us a lot harder. When we are in control of the ball, we're going to have to be more efficient and more aggressive with our attack in order to counter that. He doesn't seem to believe that a 1-0 lead is going to work for the duration of this one, so he wants to see more out of his attack, just as he expects that to come from Carolina.
All right, great work down there, Marilyn. Dean Linke, Kyle Straub up here, the fans in the crowd jumping around, having a good time. It's a little hot out there, but I'm telling you, this place is packed.
They're excited for this game, and rightfully so, Dean. I mean, one, the fans are allowed to come back. They're allowed to be in the stadium, so people are excited for that to begin with. But then you have this rematch from a couple of years ago where most of these people watch that game on TV, and if you're a Carolina fan, you ended up disappointed. You want to see some retribution here.
Emily Murphy has wrapped up that ankle as we were able to bring you right here on ACC Network Extra, courtesy of our outstanding crew. And you talk about tough. Let's see what she can do as we're watching her get her ankle tape before the half right there. Ready to roll, number 35.
And you know, I don't know if that's the injury she had dealt with that had kind of hampered her prior to this game, or if it was something that happened in game. But I will tell you, ankles are one of those things that if you can get it taped up and keep it warm, you can play on it and deal with the pain afterwards.
Wrigley looking for Murphy. Let's see what she can do. Murphy has Moxley. One back though by Stanford. They'll be keeping a close eye, of course, on Murphy with that ankle taped up.
And so will I. I want to see when she gets the ball at her feet the first time she has to make a cut, is she confident enough in that right ankle to plant and push off?
Stanford also dealing with an injury as Kennedy Wesley came off. She also, as I mentioned, came off twice in that loss to Duke.
And I think that's sorry, Dean, go ahead. I think that's actually a bigger injury to worry about because she's on the back line. And we just heard about what Coach Ratcliffe thinks that North Carolina is going to do and how that back line is going to have to really be up to the task. But one of your starters on the defensive back line is now out of the game.
Paul Ratcliffe sitting on the bench for Stanford, sitting right next to Margaret Ozusa, who was part of the United Soccer Coaches 30 under 30 class. I interviewed her last year. You talk about one of the top rising young coaches, sitting right next to Paul Ratcliffe. Macy Bell. And Moore will drop it over to Dickey. Dickey with that great left foot finds the head of Meza. And Meza's foul. Played quickly by Allen to Meza. Now Gambone. Gambone. She can hit it from here. Gambone. Extra little touch. Colton. And Colton going to try to shield it. It'll be a corner kick. Corner kick Tar Heels.
Colton Dean started to cut in towards the goal and brought a defender with her. I think if she doesn't do that, Gambone is going to have a little bit more room. You see that defender that came in with Colton. Nice help from the middle to come over and spot.
Worked by Evan Badler and our replay crew. Lauren George, our producer. Joe Ferrara directing. Stanford 1, North Carolina 0 here. Second half corner kick. Tar Heels looking for Bell and pulled out of the air neatly there by Katie Meyer.
Nice read by Meyer. More impressive that she's able to go up in traffic and secure that and not let it drop back down to the turf.
You see the .60 goals against average and the one shutout. And Kyle, I thought you said it perfectly. The Tar Heel fans remember her looking into the camera, closing the lips, throwing away the key as if it was locked and loaded and done. And you know the Tar Heel fans remember that.
I'm sure there's some players that may remember it too, but it's more for the fans than anybody. That's kind of where rivalries are created.
Extra little touch right there. And cleaned up by Bell.
Some nice passing for Stanford to get down in behind the back line. Just solid defense from Carolina.
Moxley playing it into space to Murphy. Murphy's got great speed, but she's on a tender ankle, so we'll see if that affects her. Good idea for Moxley to see what Murphy could bring right there. Look at the wonderful crowd here wearing Carolina blue. Moxley again. Great ball in. Looking for Colton. Colton, who's been playing as one of the 10s along with Meza, pushed forward along with Murphy as Gambone earning the start. Colton staying with it. Colton, and what a save. Moxley back across. Murphy, and Murphy has tied it at 1.
What a save from Myers here initially, Dean, but North Carolina with numbers in the box. She's able to get up and recover, but this one sneaks through the 5-hole. Same way that Stanford had the score against Dickey in the first half.
Emily Murphy. 3 goals and 2 assists. 3rd goal of the season. She's got her ankle wrapped up. I actually stepped outside at halftime, and a lot of people were asking about Murphy, and I basically said they're going to need Murphy to get back into this one, and Murphy has tied it.
Well, you called it, and if you're a Carolina fan, you're happy that she was able to get back out there. The training staff was able to get her taped up and ready to go.
Give Moxley and Colton all kinds of credit. I feel like there should be 2 assists on that goal from Murphy. Here's Meza. Boy, really, Anson breaking it down to Marilyn Payne, and then also Paul Ratcliffe breaking it down to Marilyn Payne, saying that he knew that the 1-0 lead was not going to hold against this great attacking team, and here we are. It's a whole new ball game with 40 minutes left.
I said it after Stanford scored that goal. It wasn't going to be just one that got a win in this one. You're going to have to get at least 2, and with North Carolina only having 4 shots in that first half, you knew that they were going to come out more aggressive.
Moxley, far post. Looking for more. Moxley serving in some wonder balls right now.
And Dean, I love that the way that they have changed how they're attacking this Stanford defense. Instead of going up the middle, we had talked about the little one-touch passes trying to break through that back line. They're playing out wide. They're using the height in the box, and they're playing some balls in over top.
Boy, seeing that replay, seeing that service from Moxley, and then seeing where Colton was, it would have been nice if Moore maybe thought about heading it back toward the top of the 6. Remember, Anson Dorrance told our very own Marilyn Payne he wants shots in the 6 or in and around the 6. He got one from Murphy off the rebound. Could have easily had one there if Moore headed it back to Colton.
with the intensity that North Carolina has come out of the locker room. That I know that was something that Maryland touched on in the beginning of the game. Stanford needs to match that intensity. But we also heard from Coach Ratcliffe, he thinks they're a little depleted right now.
Gambone running right through Stanford Cardinal players. Moxley will keep it alive. We've seen Moxley serve some great balls. Does she earn a corner? Corner kick, North Carolina.
If the coach thought that his defense and his team was tired before the half, this is not what you want to see coming right out of the break. Great job to get by that defender. Good closeout by the defense there from Stanford, though. Some help coming from the far side.
Yeah, Stanford went with 5 substitutions. North Carolina went with 8. Patterson delivering the corner. Punched out of there by Meyer. Kept alive as trying to strike it was Gambone, but not on frame.
A lot of traffic there. You can see Meyer battling with a couple of Tar Heels. Somehow able to get the hands up over them and get a piece of that one.
Stanford just one of 7 teams ranked in the preseason top 25 that will be playing the Tar Heels at Dorrance Field this season, as both these teams every year play 2 of the toughest schedules in the country to try to get ready for what they do, and that is make runs for national championships. Here's the goal scorer for Stanford, Kitahara, and Macy Bell just makes tackling look like she perfected it at birth. She's just amazing back there at center back.
And look how quickly North Carolina gets upfield. They weren't able to do this in the first half.
Murphy. That's great defense as Murphy was trying to earn a corner kick. Murphy not afraid to use her body, physical. Wrigley's got another one of those great engines. Moxley serving wonder balls, and Colton is saved. Parried over. Wow. Moxley on a dime to Colton and saved by Meyer.
Moxley has been on a mission in this second half, and that is a great ball across. Meyer up to the challenge to make the save. But for Carolina, though, Dean, it's not done. You still have a chance. Here's a 3rd corner already of this second half.
Moxley right on the head of Colton. If she could do it over, it would be to head it down and then try to head it to either post, but at least head it down. Instead, headed right to the goalkeeper, parried it away as they look for Murphy. And that corner kick handled by Stanford. There's Wrigley for the cleanup. Bottom of her shoe. Sends it right back in. Little touch from Murphy. Tough touch to make, and now Meyer is all over it.
Couldn't quite get that foot up high enough to settle that ball down. I like that Meyer is taking her time here. Let her defense get a breath before she puts the ball back into play.
How many times have you been excited about a game, you build it up, you got ready, and then it didn't deliver? Not here. This one has just been incredible, end to end, and a tremendous start to the second half here.
A lot of times the anticipation is more than the actual event, but like you said, this game has given us everything we hope for.
And then some. Wide right, Stanford. The Cardinal have some numbers in the box. Played over. Oh, and Kitahara will leave it. Cut back. Stanford denied there, sacrificing her body as Patterson. Patterson does not get enough credit for all the work she does back there along with Bell and Allen. We give Bell a ton of the publicity, but make no mistake, Patterson and Allen on either side of Bell, outstanding. Moxley, as I mentioned earlier, let's take a look at that last opportunity, Kyle.
A missed opportunity, I feel, for Stanford. Just some miscommunication, I think. The goal scorer from the first half, Kitahara, thought that her teammate who's coming in was going to take that ball and leaves it off, but nobody takes it. Somebody's got to be the aggressor there for Stanford.
Already gone 11 minutes. Moxley's been outstanding. Patterson pretty good as well. There's Moxley, kept alive. Wrigley, can she get there first? Wrigley off the hip check. Will stay with North Carolina. That's tremendous work by Wrigley in that one-on-one battle with Abby Grubel, the senior for Stanford, wearing number 24. Grubel also comes from an athletic family. Her dad played basketball at Auburn.
And get an early sub here in this second half for the Cardinal.
So Julia Leontini, the sophomore from Danville, California.
Listed on the roster as a defender, but when she came into the game, looks like she's going to be up top, though.
Yeah, they're just soccer players when you go to Stanford and North Carolina, right? Like, they will find a spot for you if you're good enough. Here's Meza.
They'll find multiple spots for you if you're that good.
Yeah, I mean, you think even about Tolentino, who came in and really burst onto the scene as more of an attacking player. She now is part of that second unit as a left back. Here's Wrigley. Wrigley right down Main Street. And turnover back to Stanford, popped high in the air, picked up by Allen. Allen from Austin, Texas, and it pops up and hits her hand. It'll come back to Stanford.
You know, a great example of that is somebody we talked about during halftime, Crystal Dunn. She can play anywhere on the field. For North Carolina, they needed her to be in the midfield and on the backside of the defense a little bit, and that was where it was the best for that team. But there's a player for the national team. She's not playing in that same position. She's where they need her.
Yeah, left back, Crystal Dunn, one of the best players in the world because of that versatility that Kyle Straub just mentioned. Moxley doing it all for the Tar Heels. Knock that one out of bounds. Will be a throw in back to Stanford. Played in the middle there to Leontini.
Played that one to nobody, was just playing it to space.
Meza looking for Murphy, but Germa, who has been a part of every U.S. national team through the youth system, scored a goal against Duke to tie it, only to see Cosme get the winner. Once again, Moxley, wow, what a rocket cross with a player hanging on her, sent in for Colton.
The message that was delivered from Anson Dorrance to the team in the locker room has clearly been taken to heart by Moxley, and she is, I guarantee you, impressing her coach right now with what she's done in this second half.
Has to be. Here's Moxley again. Back from Patterson. Wrigley will show some support. Gambone also. Instead, they knock it back in right around the 18. Loose ball connected there by Stanford. Wrigley, North Carolina, controlling the second half. Moxley, this will be 1v1. The crowd likes it. Moxley down near the corner. It'll be a throw in Tar Heels.
Like the job defensively, just slowly kind of shouldering her over towards that sideline, not letting her get to the end line.
Murphy pops it high in the air. Clearance not there. Extra effort coming from Moore. Moore now to Meza, over to Wrigley. Wrigley serving. Murphy will show. We've seen Murphy with some back heel passes. That one off the side of her foot, but read by Stanford. How tough is Murphy? Back in there again, and Murphy with the equalizer. Cleaned up by Wrigley. Wrigley part of this #2 overall recruiting class. Murphy also part of that. Murphy looking for Colton, and Murphy's going to get it back. Now some more white jerseys have time to get in there. Moore's going to come over. Top of the 18 is Colton. Colton creates her own space. Corner kick. Corner kick, North Carolina.
Just a different team here in this second half, Dean. It's all I really can say. Great job getting some space. Colton goes out to the top of the 18 instead of back where all that traffic was, tries to create an opportunity for herself, instead able to create an opportunity for her team. And now a player down for Carolina. Looks like some cramping. This is around midfield.
Might
believe
be
that's
Wrigley.
Lauren Wrigley, yeah.
Yep. And she never stops moving out there. In fact, on social media, you can see some of the drills they do as part of the competitive cauldron, and she's just bouncing around like nonstop. So much fun to watch. Lauren Wrigley, a freshman from Newton, New Jersey. Of course, both these teams recruit from all over the country. Stanford loaded, though, with all that great talent in California. North Carolina also has some California talent on their roster. Wrigley dealing with the trainers.
You can see them trying to stretch out the foot, massage the calf. That tells me that that's a cramp. So if you're a North Carolina fan, you don't really have to be concerned that there's another injury to add to the list. But let's start keeping an eye on some of these girls that are out on the field. It is a hot day. There is really no reprieve from the sun. If we already have one player cramping, there's no reason to tell me that other players aren't going to start to feel those effects.
Emily Murphy, tough as nails. And Wrigley looks like she's going to stay in the game and get waved in the next opportunity. Emily Colton has been on fire as well. The two Emilys, 6 shots, 3 on goal all this half for Emily Colton.
Tarheels as a team had 1 on goal for the first 45 minutes.
Patterson, sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida. Long ball. And a foul on Murphy. We are tied at 1. Stanford and North Carolina. Second half, Dorrance Field, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The goal scorer, Kitahara, pushing forward. Kept in bounds far side, at least from our broadcast point of view anyway. The bench is on the other side in the shade. Certainly that planning was solid by everybody involved.
You think there was a little bit of thought going into that?
Yeah, this facility just wonderful. Kitahara slid into that back line in the first half after scoring the goal. Flag stays down. Can Stanford run it down? They can. Stanford down near the corner flag. Good ball in. Tough touch on the first time. Allen doesn't panic and somehow stays in bounds, and Moore with the clearance. Game of inches back there. North Carolina will win the throw-in back.
It was a nice ball from about midfield into space in that far corner, just to get an opportunity offensively for Stanford. And more importantly, Dean, I think right now, to give that defensive unit a little bit of a break. Maryland said, they talked about it after the halftime, they need to keep possession of the ball when they have it in order to help out that defense.
Watch
Get away there.
Yeah, watch the spacing now. As you saw Gambone, I would have liked to seen Gambone let them space out a little bit more before she gave up that ball.
Yeah, especially because you already had 4 defenders back, 3 attackers. Go ahead and spread them out, open some lanes up.
Throw in for Moore. Marilyn Payne and Kyle Straub, Dean Linke with you from Dorrance Field and Chapel Hill, ACC Network Extra. It's Stanford, North Carolina. Top 10 matchup and a rematch of the 2019 National Championship game, won in penalties after zeros through 110 minutes. It was Stanford coming out as the national champion just a couple years ago. North Carolina got themselves right back in the College Cup, only to lose to Santa Clara in the semifinals. For Santa Clara and Stanford, great non-conference rivals.
Pace from Kitahara.
Yeah,
freshman can cover some ground.
She can. She, like Murphy, 3 goals already as just freshmen for both their teams respectively, Stanford and North Carolina. Here's Patterson. Got Moxley. Moxley saying, nope, Kitahara's got me, so hang on to it. So Patterson gonna come forward, and with that coming forward, frees up Moxley for a moment. The pass isn't there, though. That'll be a throw in for North Carolina. It looks like Stanford willing to absorb a little pressure right now.
Here comes a line change, and I'm going to tell you right now that those 6 that are coming in for Carolina just saw the intensity that the first 11 had, and they're going to have to match it.
Yeah, they'll get a run of about 10 minutes, maybe 15, but usually back at 15. You see Damon Nahas, the associate head coach. All the fans love the line change. It's part of the spectacle of covering North Carolina women's soccer.
It's not something that you're going to see with too many programs across the country.
None. Patterson. Sent back across, Dorwart. Dorwart looking to score 4 in a row, 4 straight games. She comes in with 3 in the last 3 games, Rachel Dorwart.
If she could have settled that ball a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, she probably would have had a really good chance.
Now the PA announcer, Paul Cannell, rattling off all the subs. Dorwart in there, as long as with Bella Sember. So Sember getting the nod. Rachel Jones, and a hard tackle on Jones. It'll go out of bounds. It'll stay with North Carolina as Jones stays down on the ground.
Nothing dirty about that. That was just a good aggressive play, but the way that she had her legs taken out from under her, she was actually the one a little bit late to that ball. Look at all the weight is going to come down right on her back.
Oof.
That'll knock the wind out of you.
We talked about it on Thursday. Jones expected back next year, taking advantage of that extra COVID year while she finishes up law school at UNC. Aspirations to be a Supreme Court justice. Here's Patterson. And a handball called that time on the freshman Annika Hutta from Finland. I asked Anson Dorrance yesterday about Hutta. She came in yesterday making her first appearance and had 3 fouls within the first 5 minutes. And normally that would get you pulled, but Anson liked her tenacity. He doesn't support fouls at all, right? But he felt like they all were just kind of unfortunate timing. And then after those 3 fouls, she had 3 great tackles, and he said you'll see her again today, and right on cue, she's in there.
Sometimes, especially for an international player, first time getting out there, you just kind of have to settle into the game and calm yourself down, and it's probably a little bit of what happened.
Kitahara. Kitahara, as Kyle Stroud pointed out, probably could have had her second goal if she didn't, for lack of a better word, dummy it, thinking that there was a teammate behind her. Here's the superstar Pac-12 defender and also a player that has been called up by the full team.
You know, that's one of those plays, Dean, where she, as you said, kind of dummied it. Later in the season, as she gets to know her teammates a little more, they get to know her, you have more continuity. That's probably a ball that either she plays or that attacker who's coming through plays, but they both won't just leave it off.
Pierce suffered a devastating injury a year ago, but has worked her way back, still dealing with some of that as she comes in with this shift change along with Hansen. Tori Hansen, another one of those players that played as a youth player under Damon Nahas. There's Jones over to Hansen. Hansen with the tackle, and Hansen rips it.
Took it away from 2 players.
She needed to because Stanford had some numbers going the other way, so great work by Hansen to stay with it. I particularly like that it was against Stanford. Of course, Hansen was one of the 2 players that had their penalty kicks denied in that 2019 final, and Hansen had to shake that off, and she has shaken it off, and now as a captain of the team, a great story of heart, determination, and discipline for this player right here, number 22. Hansen. Far side to Jones. The pressure right now from North Carolina, and Kyle Straub said it was going to happen. When the reserves came on, they knew they had to match the intensity of the starters. They have matched it.
They absolutely have. It hasn't resulted in as many chances, opportunities to score as that first set had, but they have not really given any breathing room whatsoever to Stanford.
Tough ball for Huta. Pierce comes in, trying to slow down that Stanford attack. Stanford, good job switching it out of danger, and they come over here on the left side. Let's go down to Marilyn Payne to talk more about the line changes.
The ability for these line substitutions to enable both rest and resurgence for Carolina is something Paul Ratcliffe anticipated and expected to have to endure. He said, we don't really know how to combat that because we don't have the same amount of depth that Anson and Carolina have, but we know it's coming. We're just going to have to be ready to endure those fresh legs when we see them, when it's a part of the game that North Carolina plays.
Thank you, Marilyn. Dorwart, perhaps one too many dribbles. One back there by Sember. Sember playing a little deeper, has played primarily as one of the front three for Anson Dorrance earlier in the season. Another promising freshman for the Tar Heels, Bella Sember, a freshman from Centerport, New York, Met Oval Academy. Kitahata doing great work to keep that alive. Jones is going to pick it up. Jones has Dorwart. Can't connect with Dorwart. Because it's the second half, Kyle, you need to remind everybody that when they made that line change, guess what's going to happen a little bit later?
I was actually just looking at that clock and thinking to myself, you got about 3.5, maybe 4 minutes before all those starters come back in.
That's right, folks. All of those starters come back in.
First half, you can't re-enter, but in the second half, it is free to go.
It's game on. And they're starting to work their way over to the fourth officials bench.
Yeah, and you had said it when the second unit came in that sometimes Anson will give them a little extra run and bring those starters in around the 10-minute mark. But I think because of how well Moxley specifically had played when she was out there in that second half, they're going to get him out as early as they can.
Hansen looking for Jones. Knocked away there by the talented Girma. And now here come those starters. Stanford going to match that with 2 or 3 subs of their own. That's a nice move by Paul Ratcliffe. I mean, obviously not 7 or 8, but at least 3 that come in to deal with this line change, and the fans applaud the line change.
Even if those subs for Stanford are just going to be out there for a few minutes, it's giving some players some breather, allow them to rest, recover, and then get them back out there for the final 10.
So with that line change, so many All-Americans, all Pac-12, all ACC players back on. Gambone over to Meza. Wrigley looks to be okay. Moore runs into trouble, one too many dribbles. Speaking of All-Americans, how about our crew? Lauren George, Mia Guthrie, Joe Ferrara, Dylan Field, Evan Badler, Thomas Maller, Brian Ware, Savannah Rebel, Chris O'Cana, Colin Tadlock, Jeff Anderson, Ryan Schmidt, Connor Sparrow, Marilyn Payne on the sideline, Kyle Straub in the booth. I'm Dean Linke, delighted to be with all of you and always enjoy working with this great crew here in Chapel Hill, where it's 1-1. Stanford, the number 10 team in the country, North Carolina, the number 2 team in the country, all the way back to Macy Bell. Possession arrow heavy in favor of the Tar Heels in the second half.
At halftime, it was 54-46 in favor of Carolina. I'll be interested to see what exactly it is, but you've got to figure it's more on the 70-30 range in this second half.
Indeed. Murphy back in there. Murphy, who had the equalizer. Cleaned up again there by Girma. Colton dribbled into trouble. Now Bell's got Dickey. Dickey, a big-time basketball player. On the other side, Katie Meyer was actually the kicker on the high school football team. So both goalkeepers extremely athletic, playing multiple sports. Of course, Dickey played midfielder her senior year, so that Jones, the goalkeeper over at Duke, as you said, another team that could be in the College Cup, could also play at Charlotte Latin. How about what a program that is?
Like you said, you're a soccer player if you go to one of these top programs. It doesn't matter what position, you're going to just get out on the field. You talk to coaches across all sports, it's not just soccer. And they value more so players that play multiple sports than somebody who specializes in just one.
Excellent point, Kyle. Yeah, one of the biggest proponents of that is Urban Meyer, now the head coach of the Jacksonville NFL team.
Good passing, beautiful one touch there from Emily. Just a little too much pace on it.
They play it long, trying to find Kelly Pagador, who didn't start but has come on. Did start against Duke. So Pagador in there wearing 27, the freshman from Roseville, California, and as Pagador trying to keep an eye on Moxley, which has not been easy. Patterson is hammered there as Amy Sayre got the hip into Patterson. That was right in front of us, so I definitely saw that.
And I'm sitting here, there was a yellow card on Macy Bell on a play that was nowhere near as aggressive as this one. Never played the ball, played the player instead. I'm really surprised that a card didn't come out there. I hope that Patterson is okay, taking that shot right to the hip.
The referee having words with Claudia Dickey as Dickey's going to get a yellow card.
Wow.
And now the referee is going to stop the clock. And you can see right there the referee indicating dissent.
Claudia wasn't happy. She came out of goal right away when there wasn't a card, and you can see her pointing, probably referencing the one against Bell earlier. One thing you got to know, though, is when a referee tells you that's enough, they usually mean it. That's enough. If you don't stop, we're going to make you.
It's also good to see, though, Claudia Dickey, she got a same look we had on what was a hip check that probably warranted a yellow card and wanted to make sure the referee knew, and instead she ended up with the yellow card. Oh, great idea to try to find Moxley. Nice job by that back line of Stanford, who they have been bending a little bit, but not breaking. The freshman right there, Pagador, lost the ball. Squared back into Sayre. Sayre, a sophomore from Australia, and picked up by Dickey. Dickey's just a stud, isn't she? I mean, she can throw it, she can boot it, she can play with it at her feet. She scored a goal last year against Virginia. She can do it all.
I told you at halftime, she's a steel trap. It touches her gloves and it's not going to leave. She just picked that ball up with a player coming at her with one hand like it was no big deal.
Emily Murphy. Murphy's got that ankle wrapped up and still looking outstanding. She's got the equalizer. Colton with all the shots here coming in the second half, and another one from Colton, but over the crossbar.
What a great job of settling this ball in some traffic, getting it to her left foot to get some space. Check this out as she settles this one defender, two defenders, through some traffic, just couldn't quite get on top of it though.
Off the head of Wrigley. Meza.
She has, Dean, in my opinion, been the most impressive player with the ball at her feet. Had that really nice run down the far sideline in the first half.
Yeah, went through 3 Cardinal player on that play you're talking about. Yeah, she can dance with it. Fun to watch. Here comes North Carolina. Deflection, corner kick Tar Heels. It is great to be here at Dorrance Field, and it's an educated fan base. They know this game's the real deal. As you take a look at Dorrance Field, hard to find an open seat here on a Sunday afternoon for a top 10 matchup between number 10 Stanford and number 2 North Carolina. Soak it in, folks, because you could see these two teams in yet another College Cup. Moxley with the corner, finding Bell. As Bell climbing the ladder so close.
First time Carolina has targeted Bell on that far post. Normally they like to get her a little bit closer to the front of the goal.
We've seen a lot of youngins here in the crowd soaking it all up, and it's worth mentioning that we could have a couple more future Tar Heels as Kyle Straub, his lovely wife, has one in the oven, and our producer, Lauren George, her second in the oven, due in October. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if my little girl's able to play soccer, it unfortunately won't be for Anson. I know he has no desire to retire anytime soon, but I think 19 years may be a little too far out.
Hey, you never know. It is great to see young and old out here soaking it in. They understand the history of this incredible program. This is dangerous. Stanford to take the lead, and Dickey in great position, making the goal smaller, and Pagador will shoot it over Dickey. That was one-on-one. Dickey just came out and said, bring it.
Watch Macy Bell close the ground. Look at her in the middle of the field there. She forces this shot earlier than I think that it was wanted to take, though. But you're right, Dickey being able to close that angle off and make it a really tight shot. Look at the ground that Bell covers.
Kyle, I got chills on what Bell just did right there.
That ball is played, and I immediately thought, oh, here's the chance for Stanford. And out of nowhere, a flash comes running across midfield.
It's incredible.
But you had said it, you know, we saw her first game as a freshman, and she stood out on the field. It was one of those, whoa, who is this player that looks like the best player, and it's her first time playing?
Jaw dropped, right?
Yeah.
Gambone. Like a handball on Stanford will stay with North Carolina. And these two teams met in 2019. They went 110 minutes and then penalty kicks. Of course, the regular season game, they will not go to penalty kicks if they do not get a winner in that sudden victory overtime. If, in fact, we do go overtime. I'm not saying we will, because the way it's going right now, you feel like one of these teams may get one. But
well, and this is a big chance right here for North Carolina. Under 8 to go. The loss to Duke for Stanford came down to a late foul that gave them an opportunity.
Caitlin Cosme with the winner for Duke. North Carolina sends this one in. Bell's there, but so is Meyer.
Sailed just a little bit too long on her.
Meyer with the left-handed toss out to Pagador. It was Pagador who had that one-on-one opportunity against Dickey, but skied it. Boy, Stanford now in transition. Gobbling up real estate here. Stanford into the 18, shot right to Dickey. Dickey makes it look so easy.
I like the counterattack there. Get upfield quickly. They haven't really had a lot of success working through the midfield here in this second half.
Knocked out of bounds. Stanford will leave it. Just chilling, right? No big deal.
They've been through this. There's nothing to worry about.
Anson Damon, Heather O'Reilly. Heather O'Reilly, by the way, also ready to have her second child. And there's speculation, just write this one down. There's speculation after the second child that Heather O'Reilly could return to the North Carolina Courage next year, which would be just amazing. And I say if she can, she should. Here's Moxley. Colton. She has teased with Austin DeLuz, the longtime player with North Carolina FC, whose dad is the head coach at Wake Forest. They're 5-0, by the way, to start the season as well. That it's not out of the possibility for Heather O'Reilly to return to the NWSL.
Listen, the hardest thing in the world for an ex-player to do is to stay as an ex-player. They don't want to have to stop playing. Their body just makes them stop. And if her body is starting to feel good enough and she's going to go out there and give it a go again, then good luck to her. Michael Jordan said at his Hall of Fame induction, don't be surprised, I'm not 50, I may try another comeback. They don't want to stop.
I'd show up for that. Here's Moxley. Moxley! Oh, Meyer pulls it out of the air. As much as we talk about Dickey, Meyer's pretty darn good.
She is one of the best goalkeepers in the country. Got this one just by her fingertips, but that's all she needed. Clamped down on it and did not let it go.
She's a little lighter because she took her earrings off before the game. If you remember, Ryan Campbell had to start the first few minutes as Meyer took a little extra time. Here's Murphy. Murphy will drop it over to Moxley. Moxley serving some great balls. Nobody home on the far post after Murphy found Moxley. And that's when Murphy's holding it up enough where you got to get those white jerseys running to the far post.
Yeah, she tried to stall, delay just a little to get some numbers forward, but Carolina couldn't get anybody to that far post. Otherwise, that would have been a really nice play. These big-time matchups always seem to come down to one play, one mistake. Which team is going to have the player that steps up to make that play or make that mistake?
Well, right now, UNC fully committed to the offensive attack. Right there, if Stanford doesn't foul, the transition was on, and they would have had advantages as North Carolina pushing everybody forward to try to get a win in regulation. And without that foul, Stanford's going the other way.
They are, but I think that foul is probably a little bit because of fatigue.
Dickey almost to midfield as she watches the Tar Heels send it into Bell. It's loose, bouncing around Murphy, and the flag is up offside, and it'll come back to Stanford.
Offside.
A lot of traffic in there. I don't know about that one.
What a touch from Meza. Left side, little touch from Moore. Well, you caught it earlier. Meza's ability with her feet popped it up in the air to get the attack going for North Carolina. Once again with multiple gray jerseys. There's Bell. Gazelle-like is the best way you can describe that glide. Allen. Wrigley hits it right through Stanford over to Meza. Meza now plays it into her own space. Meza has Moxley. Moxley, little touch to Murphy. Murphy with Colton making a run, and Murphy couldn't square it to Colton near post. Handled there by Meyer.
That was a great counterattack getting upfield quickly. I think Meyer may have rolled that ankle again, though.
Hagedorn, read perfectly by Patterson. Moxley heads it into space. Murphy can't get to it. Here's the goal scorer for Stanford, Kitahara. And there's Bell stepping up and keeping possession. Keeps it on the carpet. Murphy will switch it to Moxley. Look at the spin on it. That looks like a chip shot from Kyle Straub with the perfect spin to the hole. Patterson Colton. Stanford, Gurma starting this attack from that center back position. Pagador picked off there by Wrigley. Now Moxley. Moxley. She's been good all season, but this is her best game by far. Meza to Colton. Colton taken down right there. And the clock will stop and a yellow card will come out. Because of that yellow card, this is an opportunity for Macy Bell to come forward and perhaps win it here in the final 47 seconds.
Carolina's going to put all the numbers forward here. Pittman has that one at her feet. Brandt, the one that commits the foul there. Not as close to the penalty area as the foul that was against Duke, but still, this is one that's within striking distance. You've got some players on North Carolina that can either put it on frame or serve it in for somebody like a Macy Bell.
Claudia Dickey out at midfield, directing traffic for the team. Served in, and right to Meyer. Can't find Bell or Murphy, and that could be the last great chance here as North Carolina, courtesy of the warrior that is Emily Murphy, with the ankle wrapped up, tying it in the second. When they met in 2019, it went 110 before decided on penalty kicks for the national championship. And we're 20 seconds away from going to extra time again. Pagador. Handled there by Moore. Moore with the cleanup all by herself. Taps it over to Moxley. 8 seconds left. Meyer was off her line for a second. Murphy on that ankle, just not quite there. Look at Gurma. You talk about Bell's closing speed.
Yeah.
Gurma closes it through 90. North Carolina 1, Stanford 1.
Let's play a little bit more, Dino. Why not? This has been a fantastic match so far.
Two of the best ever, the Tar Heels and Stanford. Gonna need overtime to find a winner. What a special game on ACC Network Extra, the Cardinal and the Tar Heels.
Experience iconic luxury in a Cadillac SUV, like the XT6, an IIHS top safety pick with seating for up to 7 passengers. Or the XT5, with over 20 available safety and driver assistance features. Your Cadillac SUV experience awaits.
Get 0.9% APR for 72 months, plus $500 purchase allowance on a 2021 Cadillac XT6 and XT5. Visit your Bay Area Cadillac dealer today.
We've got you taken care of, Sergeant Houston.
Thank you. That was fast.
One call to USAA got her a tow, her claim paid, and even her grandpa's dog tags back. Get a quote.
As advertised, this is the game. Stanford, the number 10 team in the country with 1 in the first. North Carolina, the number 2 team in the country with 1 in the second. That means overtime soccer on ACC Network Extra. Welcome back, Kyle Straub along with Dean Linke, and as advertised indeed.
I mean, this has been everything that we hoped for, and now we're going to get a little bit extra of it. Free soccer. Who doesn't want to see a top 10 matchup where we get a little extra free soccer? And man, if North Carolina can keep that pressure on like they did in the second half, you feel like they're going to get that extra goal, but Stanford has got some firepower themselves, Dean.
Let's go to work and show everybody the highlights in this one through 90.
First half, it was the freshman who got things started. Kita Hota is going to get loose in behind the North Carolina defense. Dickey able to get back in time, but the freshman plays the keeper and just sneaks that one by her. Just the 3rd goal given up by North Carolina all season long. It stayed that way all the way until we get into the second half, and Anson Dorrance made some adjustments. Moxley was absolutely amazing for North Carolina in this second half. Myers came up with a huge save initially, but then it was Emily who gets the goal. Murphy, the freshman, able to tie it up as she was Johnny on the spot here and put it right through the 5-hole. North Carolina ties it up, and you feel like at that point, Dean, they're just going to keep on peppering the goal, and they did. But Stanford's got a really good keeper, and Meyer kept her team in it with a couple of big-time saves. And eventually Stanford, as I said, they got some firepower. They get a late opportunity, but watch Macy Bell from the other side of the field close so much ground that the shot is forced to be taken a little bit earlier than Dooms probably wanted to.
15 shots for North Carolina, just 7 for Stanford.
And 4 shots apiece in the first half. That means North Carolina had 11 shots in that second half, but only 1 was on goal, and that was 3 were on goal, and Myers made the saves. She's got to be out of position, I feel like, otherwise she's going to be up to the task.
For more, let's go down to Maryland Payne.
Emily Colton responsible for 8 goals in this game to this point, and the freshman is 8 shots to this point in the game, and she's one who Anson Dorrance explained as being so special, saying she was leading the country as coming out of high school with the club ball team that she played with. That's how aggressive on the attack she can be. In particular, the way that she receives a ball and can score when it comes from Emily Murphy is something that Anson Dorrance pointed out for us to keep an eye on. We've seen that pair try and make a connection for a goal multiple times already here in regulation. It'll be exciting to see if they can connect and finish on that in overtime.
Emily Colton, just one of the Emilys that are part of the story today, though, Kyle.
Yeah, Emily Murphy, Emily Colton, Emily Moxley. There's 3 of them out there for Anson Dorrance that have been getting the job done. And Murphy, as soon as that whistle sounded to finish off regulation, immediately took her cleats off. We saw that she had to get taped up at halftime in order to get out there for the second half. They have retaped her, and she is ready to go.
Emily Murphy. Talked about it in the game against Northwestern. If you're a center back, I mean, I can't think of a tougher player to defend in Murphy, in that she is strong, she's got different size, she can use both feet, and she is tenacious, and she is proving by fighting through this ankle injury that she is as tough as they come.
Tough as nails. It is for sure somebody that I would not have to try and defend, and it's just going to get scarier for defenders because she's just a freshman.
Wrigley loses it, and in typical Anson Dorrance coach fashion, wins it right back after losing it. Moxley, who had the assist to Murphy for the equalizer, and as Kyle Straub said, another one of those Emilys that you got to tip your hat to. We got to include her on the Emilys. We absolutely have to. And on that goal, it was Colton over to Moxley, over to Murphy. Here's Colton. Now Meza. Showing is Moxley. Knocked out of bounds. Will be a throw in. Right over there in front of Paul Ratcliffe and the Stanford bench. Paul Ratcliffe, 19 years. Had success at St. Mary's where he took his team to the NCAA tournament, and then all but 1 year as the leader of Stanford. He's taken his team to the NCAA tournament, and always deep runs for Stanford. You can expect more of the same this year.
North Carolina staying on the top of the screen when they were going the other side. It was down on the bottom, and I think, Dean, it's because Kennedy Wesley went out. That was the player who got hurt in the first half on the defensive backs for Stanford, and North Carolina has attacked that new player in there.
Yeah, she's also the player that got hurt not once but twice against Duke. So clearly she's still dealing with some injuries. Stanford has it. Turning on it is Doms. Doms, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week for Stanford. Bell going to try to run it down, and just Bell's presence is enough right there as it'll be a goal kick. Boy, Macy Bell, you can tell she is spent. She has given everything and then just a little bit more.
Yeah, at the beginning of the second half, we talked about was Stanford's legs going to start to get tired. At this point in the game, everybody is dealing with fatigue.
You see it right there on your score bug. It is sudden victory. You score, you win. Meza did it here earlier this season against Arkansas, winning in overtime.
And if Stanford does score, Dean, it'll be the first ever loss for North Carolina on Dorrance Field.
Yep, perfect on this field. Stanford Trying to take advantage of a turnover in transition, hoping to switch it over to the right side. Cutting back in is Doms. Now they finally do get it to the right side. Tolentino is back in there. So Tolentino, as they go to 4 in the back here. Macy Bell. Gurma. Stanford more of the ball here to start overtime than they had pretty much in all of that second half.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting coming out of the locker room is that Coach Ratcliffe had told Maryland that they really needed to hold on to the ball, be better with it at their feet, and they weren't. But they have been here in this overtime.
When Kyle told Maryland, he means Maryland Payne, our sideline reporter, not Maryland University, as there's a whistle right there. Great to have Maryland Payne along with us as Colton gets taken down. Speaking of Maryland, the university saw Jenny Levy before the game, and she mentioned that they're not going to play Maryland this year. Jenny Levy, of course, will challenge again for a national championship for the UNC women's lacrosse team. Allen looking for Moxley. Meza knew exactly where it was going. Backpedaled, but one back by Stanford. Meza does enough to let Wrigley take it over. And Wrigley is fouled.
It's not a foul that you have to make there. You've got more players around you to help out defensively. It is far enough away, though, where you can take the risk. It's not like you're giving up a shot from 20, 25 yards.
Normally Bell would come forward here, but with under 5 minutes remaining in this first overtime, she is a little bit tired, so she's going to stay back, understanding her body. This is Patterson. We'll drop it over to Wrigley. Wrigley can crank it here. Wrigley for the winner, and denied by Meyer. Wrigley was thinking shot the entire time from way downtown, forcing Meyer to make a big-time save.
What a strike on this ball. Looking top 90. Put it there. Save just made by Myers. Look at this ball. Bend in, dip at the end.
That's just a wonderful understanding of your personnel, as Bell elected not to come forward. Now she will, and because of that, they're like, all right, let's go with that play where we get it to Wrigley, and she smokes a bomb in there, forcing Meyer for the save. Trying to win it here. Loose. Murphy is there. Still loose, and it's in. The Tar Heels have won again at Dorrance Field. Murphy was in the middle of it. I'm not sure who's going to get the goal, but the Tar Heels knock off Stanford 2-1.
Dean, I have no idea what just happened, but a goal was scored and North Carolina comes away with an overtime win. Let's see if we can parse this out. There was a lot of traffic here. Some hesitation on a couple of different Stanford defenders there.
Own goal.
And that ball just sneaks in. Wow.
I mean, Allen was there as well, but I think it may have gone off a Stanford player. Meyer saw it go in right there. And North Carolina remains perfect at Dorrance Field with an overtime thriller.
You said it earlier, a lot of times the hype around a game never lives up. This one lived up to the rematch of 2019 championship and gave us a little bit more excitement than I think we were in store for.
Great crowd here. Don't forget the next soccer telecast, a top 5 matchup between North Carolina and Duke. I want to thank Lauren George, Joe Farrar, and his great crew. Maryland Payne getting it done on the sideline. My broadcast partner and good friend Kyle Straub. For each and every one of them and all of you, I'm Dean Linke saying your final score from Chapel Hill. In a rematch of the 2019 National Championship game, Stanford won that one, but today at Dorrance Field in overtime, it's North Carolina 2, Stanford 1, and you saw it all right here on ACC Network Extra.